in. Now, I don't want to necessarily confirm anything because this is only the second one. Maybe it's an order that is still unanticipated, but if you had to sort of guess based on the current trajectory, you know, maybe the Order of the Magical Islands has something to do with it. So, in the case of the Crocus, neat as well because, you know, part of the music that the Crocus conducts on Psychic Island is actually a callback to the electric guitar that featured in the reveal of Harriet, the paranormal debunker video. I noted that the season of Purple Explorer is not an arbitrarily chosen one. It aligns with the real world recognition of International Museum Day, and for us, of course, lifelong learning, scientific discovery, you know, figuring out how the world around you works, thirsting for knowledge, just for knowledge's sake. So that's what Purple Explorer is all about. If talk about these seasonal snacks. So some of you might have been wondering about the rationale, the choice behind why there are Jawbreakers and instant noodles going on here. Because you might be thinking to yourself, well, okay, it's a theme of like discovery, exploration, what's going on. So in the case of Jawbreakers specifically, much has been said of the fact that all of Spurt's teeth have long since fallen out from consuming the waters of the living ocean. So I thought that it would be funny, if you will, if Spurt liked popping these Jawbreakers in, it was just gumming down. I'm just having a terrible time.
That does seem in character.
And of course, since blue is Spurt's favorite color, it always selects the blue ones first, but it makes sure to finish off the yellow and red ones as well.
That's right.
And then as far as the instant noodles are concerned, that was inspired by the fact that when you're in school and when you're studying for things, you often don't have time to prepare a full nutritious meal. Now recall, of course, that the monsters derive nutrition from things that we would normally classify as junk food. So this is very nutritious for monsters.
Of course.
And I saw some other folks in the handler helper community saying, instant noodles, it's not instant, it takes a long time to do it. Well, let me say this to you, members of the community. In Purple Explorer, we deal in geological time, vast spans of time. So a mere day to make some instant noodles, that's just a flash in the pan for the overall continuity of the monster world. So it's all about perspective.
That's right. Like Interstellar.
Exactly. Exactly like Interstellar.
Bubblerite come from? It predates any singing monsters created by the Colossals. So did it already exist in the world, or did it originate in the Colossals' original home?
Andiopia, this is an excellent question. So Bubblerite is like, it's like the stuff of life of the monster world.
Would it be comparable to like carbon
or
in the human
Yeah,
world?
it's one of those elements on the periodic table that you'd find up right near the top. It is the building block for so many different other materials and things in the monster world. So I want to comment on the notion of the Colossal's original home. The Colossals are native to the monster world. They, unlike Stareshaper, unlike some of the Titans that we have met, they are born of the monster world themselves. So Greenwich and Zephyr and Zarwi and all of those Colossals, they come from the monster world. So their original home is the monster world. And when they went to start creating things, they found this abundance of a material that they could bend and shape and remold to their will to help bring their creativity to life, and that is Bubblerite. And it's part of the very essence of the big clangor blowing up and beginning the nascent monster world. So where does it come from? It comes from the monster world itself. It is the thing. It is the magical substance that makes everything possible.
Wowee. Wowee.
Shocking, isn't
Food
it?
for thought.
As I hit my mic.
All right, monster.
Zoomies. Just
I
like,
saw
just
this
like people get
in the
zoomies
list,
too.
and I was like, we gotta answer that.
Get zoomies, but in the case of ghasts, they're called plazoomies.
Oh!
They're called Plazumis.
I need to
because of
see
their
this.
plasma.
I like that.
We'll have to see if we can capture it as part of an upcoming trailer or short or Monster Mythos or something where we can depict the Plazumis in action. But bullets plasmic orbs.
I love
The
that
gas
idea.
goes fast.
Gas gotta go fast.
Path that these two follow, like a loop, sort of like the global conveyor belt. Is Phosphor the only Titan that physically moves itself from place to place? And could it theoretically meet with the other Titans or Colossals?
Now, honey, these are many questions that are folded all into
That's
one, but
true.
I'll do my best to answer each of them in a timely manner. So, is there a set path that the Aurora Monstralis follows, and by extension that Phosphora and Light Island follow? Yes, in the same way that, like, around the same areas of the human world, the Aurora Borealis and Aurora Australis, which is the one I think on the southern hemisphere, are visible. Are they always in the exact same spot? No, they are a product of magnetic field interference things going on, and a little bit of extra dose of Monster World magic sprinkled in. So there's sort of like a range that they can go in, but it's not always the same path
Right.
year over year. It's sort of just like it can meander within this entire sort of like laneway. And so one year it might be there, and then another year it might be many, many, many nautical leagues away on the open ocean of the living ocean waters. Is Phosphora the only Titan that physically moves itself from place to place? No. No. Gigacheeps are large migratory species. That's the gigacheep nest from Air Island. It's Titan Island skin. That one moves around. Harvards, I believe, sort of go wherever crops and vegetables are in season. So no, a few of them do move around. Of the Titans that are the hosts of the magical islands, I'm not even sure, because it sort of seems like Kravlaft itself is also sort of floating up in orbit, so maybe it sort of has its own sort of orbital path that it follows. I'm not quite sure. Or maybe it sort of stays in a particular place. It fights against the natural orbital current, or whatever you want to call it, to stay in place. But I don't think it's the only one that can physically move. It's certainly the most one that moves around a lot. And yes, I think it could meet other Titans or Colossals in that way, but those other Titans or Colossals would have to be in the path of the Aurora Monstralis, because that's what it follows.
Is Barb and Flow's family name, as well are Mimic and Gobbligord a new discovered family group, which we kind of talked about a little bit.
Yeah, so this is a good opportunity to sort of circle back on that particular thing. The name of Barb and Flow's family, we don't know yet. I don't have one.
No.
We'll get there. We'll get there. But off the top of my head, no. I want to devote more time to learning if there are potentially additional members of the family, and to come up with a suitable name that accurately describes the entire group.
There's a lot of research still to be done.
Of course, it's always ongoing, and we learn new things about even monsters that have been, discovered for years and years and years now. We learn new things about them all the time. Now, in the case of Mimic and Gobbligord, so again, I don't want to get ahead of folks getting a chance to sort of read the rare Mimic bio, but based on the study, the presentation that Spirit was giving during the science fair, a study of Gobbligordification, there's something funny going on with Mimic specifically, because when you have a monster that can shapeshift, can it really be called evolution when it's just like, nope, I just take that form on a whim?
I didn't even consider
If that in fact is what's going on. Now, in the case of the Mimic Gobbligord relationship, like I said, I don't want to spoil too much for folks who have not yet had the chance to read the bio for Rare Mimic, but it's confusing at best, the relationship between these things. And this is a discovery that's like 0 days old. Right? There have been perhaps some clues hinting at a close relationship between the monsters in the past, which again, maybe we'll tackle in a future field notes. I don't know. Maybe soon. But what the relationship is between the two of them, I think at minimum we can say with some confidence that Mimic exists. Older monster, exactly. So it's the older monster of the two.
All right.
As far as the future consequences of that discovery remains to be seen, so you'll have to bear with us as we continue to investigate.
Right.
So
Questions?
what inspired the design of Psychic Island Titan Soul? Because I think it's really cool. To me, I don't know if this is true, but it reminds me of like a plant version of a Demigorgon kind of vibe.
Yes. So, I mean, I think you're really onto something there, Charlie. The entire design behind Krovlaft, the Psychic Titan,
Yeah, sorry, I should have said the name.
was supposed to be inspired by like cosmic horror. That's why it's got a starscape behind it.
Color
the
out of space.
Yes, the idea of like extra dimensional things messing with our reality, and we're not quite sure how to interact with them, understand them, etc. So for the design of Krovlafti and Crocus, we wanted to continue the idea of like a body plan, an organism that doesn't necessarily look super familiar to us, but that looks faintly familiar to the kinds of like weird designs and shapes and ideas that you've seen depicted in things like the Demigorgon, or things from like not of this place. They're from somewhere else. And we know, of course, that Krovlaft, the Titan, is one of the pupils, if you want to call them that, of Stareshaper, who themselves is an intergalactic traveler, and so a hitchhiker, if you will. And so
Hitchhiker's Guide in the
to the
Galaxy.
you got
There
it.
you go.
So it shouldn't surprise that the manifested soul form of Krovlaft is also tentacled and crab-like and many-eyed
Lovecraftian.
and yes, or some might say Krovlaftian.
You're gonna need a T after this.
PokeTube 28. Why is Epic Trouble awake unlike its common and rare counterparts?
An excellent question. That was a design element that came directly from Ultimate creator Eric himself. Wanted to mix it up after two monsters in their common and rare forms that had that classic inversion of being asleep while they're active and then awake while they're sleeping. Again, take a look at the bio for Epic Trouble. It contains a lot of interesting ideas that come from Ultimate creator Eric himself, and that were sort of woven together with our understanding and our lore of how these monsters interact. There's also a very interesting Trouble bio as well that I invite folks from the Handler Helper community to go and learn a little bit more about, because it's also going to scratch a separate itch, a question that they've been having for a long time about the nature of playbachyderms. The playbachyderm.
Does the hand making a plasma eyelet move at all? Does that disturb the sheet of plasma suspended between the fingers of the monsters standing on top of it?
That's an excellent question. I think during the formation of Plasma Islet, it was definitely like rumbling around, doing stuff, but I think that now that it has sort of settled into place, it's almost as much of an inanimate thing as it is animate. It sort of has like taken that final form, sort of like the big colossal hand in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where it just sort of like hardens into a particular form. And so I don't think that the monsters of Plasma Islet are at risk of being toppled when the plasma sheet sort of moves around. We do know that the plasma sheet is still kind of like not totally static, because there's gloopy bits coming out of it, and the speed with which you traverse it makes it like different levels of viscous, so you'll have to check that out as
It's also
well.
like moving around in space. People forget that the Earth itself is hurtling
Is
through
moving
space.
at all times, exactly. So if the whole thing is moving, it's of a size that I don't think it would be perceptible to the monsters, but no worries about that. None of them are ever at risk of being jostled off and tumbling down into a hole of nothingness.
For Julie.
Hey,
We see
Julie.
you. Has the species of Roric and rare Roric skulls been discovered?
Whoa.
No, and because they are endemic to the pocket dimension, it's sort of a limited group of things that it could possibly be. Recalling, of course, that the Pocket Dimension is sort of the sandbox mode of the Monster World that the Colossals used to create things, and then some of them came to be finalized and perfected, and others, like the Primordial class, were sort of abandoned halfway through in favor of other ideas. So it could be, you know, a long, far-flung creation of a Colossal who was making something and was like, well, I like the skull, but that's about it. So I'm kind of just sort of like leave that as is. And so that's one possible theory for what's going on. And you know what? You've been talking about, Charlie, and I can't remember what the like name for the technique is. I want to say it's like whistle tone or something like that, whistle note. But yeah, it's really, really cool. And who knows, maybe in a future Ethereal Islet we'll hear Blair doing that. We'll have to see if the audio team is listening in to hear what the people want. What do the people want? They want introductory. What the people want? What do the people want? They want two tones out of that Blair at once. Gathered here together, you know, when we were saying, okay, it's now time for Epic Wubblins, there was a time, if you can believe it, that it was just going to launch with Epic Brump. It was just going to be that one,
so
and then the other ones were going to roll out thereafter.
They're all so cool.
But you know what? As a group, this
Look how happy they look in this picture.
Yes, this quintet really won't quit, right?
That's
like,
right.
They're so iconic. The Wubblins together. Sales that are starting tomorrow.
Okay, upcoming seasonal sale.
That you can get in the Wishing Well in Dawn of Fire were appearing as Skyship orders, and that wasn't always clear how you got those items. And so, as of versions 3.3.2 and 3.3.3, which I believe just went out today for Dawn of Fire, those have been excluded from Skyship orders, so makes it a little bit easier to achieve those as you're going through and completing them. Other thing that's new and that's sort of neat in version 4.8.2, again based on your feedback, is that there's now a show/hide link button on Titan Souls on both Phosphoran Phlox and on Krovlafti and Crocus, where you can opt to make the link that the monster has visible or not visible in case you like the appearance of the monster without the noticeable tinting and the little sigil above their head. Yes. It should still be visible when you tap on the Titan Soul. It'll show you which monsters are soul linked, but if you don't have the Titan Soul selected, that's now a level of customization that's new in version 4.8. Only a limited amount to claim, so you're going to want to go fast. The final thing that I wanted to chat about, and you'll learn more about it tomorrow, is we've got a brand new community contest on the horizon. That is very, very neat. I think we'll look to learn a little bit more about it from Monster Handler Tyson in less than 24 hours time, but I have a feeling that many members of our Handler Helper community are going to be very excited to participate in this particular contest. I don't want to say any more and spoil the surprise, but you'll want to check back in tomorrow on the Ides of Me on May 15th and check out our latest community contest. That's all that we've got for our show today on My Singing Monsters Live May 2025 edition. We want to thank you for tuning in, and hopefully you feel like it was worth it because you got that giveaway code. You got